Craig.
Hello, welcome to today's episode of Juicing the Numbers, your statistics and sports podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Tracy.
And I am your host, Joshua Tracy. Oh, shit.
And we are Joshua Tracy.
Welcome to the Joshua Tracy podcast.
You got Tall Josh and you got Medium Josh, and we're here to talk sports.
If we're being honest, it would be Tall Josh and Jewish Josh, because those are our defining characteristics.
You're not wrong. I was also going to say Tall Josh and Heavy Josh, but I think the through line here is that you're tall, and I have other things that people will focus on.
You are a normal, complete person, and I am tall.
Well, that's the thing. You are also a normal and complete person, but people won't fixate on that. People will fixate on the fact that, hey, that guy is taller than most other people.
Yeah.
And that's all you have then.
It's so uncomfortably true.
Yeah, man, it's fucking crazy. Oh, and if you're new to the show, for anyone who's unaware, Corwin Heller, the other host of this show, 6'8", does not play basketball, but 6'8".
Don't play basketball.
Doesn't play basketball. He is almost one Kevin Durant in height, but not in talent.
I'm like half an inch shorter than LeBron.
So wild.
Yeah, but he has all the talent.
And that's the problem, isn't it? Yeah. And it always bothers me seeing athletes who are like marginally shorter than me, because then I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Where did I go wrong?
Like I was watching the Knicks game the other night, and one of the guys on the other team, I forget. I'm still learning player names, so I'm sorry for the entire NBA. I don't know any of your names, but there was this one guy, and they were like, "Oh man, he's so good. He's only 5'11". And I was like, "Fuck, what the hell am I? What am I doing?"
I have 9 inches on that guy, and he would whoop my ass into next week with no repercussion. Like, I would be unable to score a single point against a guy nearly a foot shorter than me.
Dude, we almost lost to 12-year-olds. Remember that?
Oh, no.
Oh man,
I
Corwin
do,
and I
but I'm
once
saying
played.
no because I'm still trying to repress that.
Corwin and I once played a pickup game of basketball, just the two of us against these two 12-year-olds at our gym, and oh man, they were a lot better than we were, and we were just lucky he's so tall, because I just kept throwing the ball to him, and he just kept putting it in the fucking bin. Yeah.
Not to hold anything against female athletes, just the shame it brings is,
It was bad. It was a bad day, man. Just because we like sports and we're good at talking about sports doesn't mean anything when it comes to actually playing a sport. But we're leaving that to the side so we can do the thing that we're good at here,
and so that we
which is
don't get
complaining.
unbearably sad.
Well, at least your teams
only
tend
so
to.
much
Oh no, your team got eliminated from the playoffs too. Well, no, because your team made the playoffs. Let's talk about the Jets, I guess, to start.
Yeah.
The Jets made one of the first coaching hires. They ended up hiring Robert Saleh, who was the defensive coordinator coming out of San Francisco 49ers. We had made some conversation around him when we were talking about all the big name kind of guys who were getting interviews last week or so. And in that time, since last week, the Jets had a second interview with Robert Saleh and then brought him in as the head coach. So, Corwin, since you are still better than me at talking about people who are not the players everybody knows, tell me about Robert Saleh.
I absolutely love this. I know we talked about his ability as a defensive coordinator, his defensive prowess, but I think the big takeaway here, and what I heard through media people, was the big draw for the Jets was not offensive or defensive ability, but leadership and what you would bring to team culture. And believe me, for the Jets, I know you know this well, and I'm sure many people who listen to us know well, the Jets culture the past couple of years wasn't great.
Absolute shit.
Correct. And I think that's particularly why I'm so excited about this. They're going to be drafting a young quarterback in 99% of chances, or 99% of drafts they're going to be taking quarterback. It's not certain, but you never know. And even if they didn't get an offensive guy to build an offense around him, I love this hire because it is a culture change. Look at what Brian Flores did with a joke of a franchise in its current state or its recent past state, the Miami Dolphins. How quickly they're starting to turn things around because of how well he's able to build that team and build the culture around the team and make a winning football club. Bringing in offensive coordinator in Mike LaFleur is a fantastic way to get that offensive prowess. But by all means, Robert Saleh, I'm not certain.
Yeah, I'm
Fantastic
gonna
hire.
need.
I
Yeah,
would
I'm
be
gonna need to hear
very,
other people.
very happy with this duo that came in.
Yeah, I gotta say, I desperately wanted an offensive coordinator, specifically Eric Bieniemy, because I think when something is as clear cut and obvious as really, really good offensive production is, I think it's the easiest thing to point at and say, I want that.
Mm.
Especially given the nature of the team we're talking about here, which is the Jets, who just have not been able to put together a competent offense since the
Yes.
since Mark Sanchez, which is a
That
horrifying. No, actually, the first Fitzmagic season
okay, yeah.
when we had Brandon Marshall
Brandon
and Eric
Marshall,
Decker
yeah.
firing on all cylinders, went 10-6, almost made the playoffs. That was a good
Who's
year.
your running back then?
Chris Ivory.
Oh, right. Okay. Wow. Chris Ivory, that's a name I've not heard in many a year.
Well, that's because he was great for the Jets and then went in free agency and signed a
Browns.
contract. I'm not going to say big or small, with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then immediately fell off the face of the fucking planet.
I think he went to the Browns first.
I don't think so. I think you're
I
thinking of the
can't
Jets
say
getting
I
Isaiah Crowell.
You are correct.
Yeah, because that was the same. The offseason we lost Chris Ivory was the same offseason we got Isaiah Crowell.
Okay. I will firmly concede. That sounds much more likely.
All right, but now now I have to double check myself
I
because I
love
have
this.
no
We are
fucking.
so uncertain. We are certain, and then there's just this little doubt that just eats away at us.
Yeah, especially because like these are teams, especially when it comes to teams that we are fans of. Like, all right, yeah. So Chris Ivory, 3 years with the Jets, then went to Jacksonville, and apparently played in Buffalo in 2018. No recollection of that. But he did it. Um, yeah,
I have a slight recollection of that, but it's not a good one. You know?
sure.
Yeah, I don't
Dude,
remember him being anything sort of acceptable in Buffalo.
I don't remember it fucking at all. But either way, I my perception of this as a Jets fan is like, hey, no matter who we're gonna need or who we're gonna pick up, we're gonna need someone to either bring Darnold out of his I don't want to say out of his shell, really just coach him so that he can play well for more than flashes during games, like series of games, some might say a season. Um, or uh, coach up whatever draft pick we end up taking a quarterback with to a startable caliber. Now, I will say I probably put an undue amount of pressure on that to be the head coach's responsibility instead of being more of a culture setter. And um, I think after the news got hired and I had news got announced of the hiring and I had my initial bout of disappointment that it was not Eric Bieniemy, I started to calm down a little bit and be like, well, the Jets weren't good under Bowles, but we weren't bad under Bowles either. Or we were just uninspired under Bowles. But I would take that over what we've had the past 2 years in a fucking heartbeat. Because I think one of the things about the Jets that makes us a weird team, Adam Gase not finishing the season last year with a winning record was actually really weird. Because in Jets' recent history, I think all of our last like 6 head coaches before that had winning records in their first season as head coach. With
Wow.
basically same rosters, all that shit. Like Todd Bowles, first season, 10-6. Rex Ryan, first season, 9-7. Oh fuck, who was before that? Oh goddamn, I can't remember that far back. I'm bad with my head coaches. It wasn't Herm Edwards, was it? It doesn't matter.
Rex Ryan.
Rex Ryan. But I think that there's the for whatever reason the team is built. I think the Jets are a good case in point about team culture and how it can affect talent levels because clearly the Jets have always had at various points enough talent to be good for a year, but not enough either talent or coaching prowess to be good for sustained periods of time.
Mm.
And I think that if that culture can be upheld to a reasonable degree, with which I'm hoping a guy like Robert Saleh, I'm sorry, I don't know, um, could be that guy, then I think we might actually end up for once maybe seeing some success. Um,
Just a point I thought of while you were going through the past coaches that I want to bring up. You mentioned Todd Bowles, and I think we've all been able to see how good Todd Bowles is as a defensive coordinator. You know, limited success as a head coach, but as a defensive coordinator specifically, he's been excellent at pretty much every stop. I think Robert Salah is a rich man's Todd Bowles. I think talent-wise of coaching a defense, I think he is on par, or at least in that tier. I think as a leader of a team and, by all means, a head coach in that position, I think he will be much better, and I would be very excited for being able to see him in that role with a team like the Jets who have, by all means, some talent on defense. You know, they have Quinn Williams. I'm sure there's other players. Um, that being said, I do think
CJ
it's
Mosley.
yeah, you know, he's
Yeah.
still alive.
He is. He is. Now that we have a different head coach, he'll probably feel fine again.
Just magically be healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like James Harden with his weight.
That was a
Um
hilarious picture.
I know. I know. I not everyone was overreacting when he came in fat. Let him cook, man. It was a pandemic. But yeah, I think you're pretty on the nose with it cuz when Todd Bowles got fired or didn't get his contract pick up, I forget which one it technically was. Um it was bittersweet, I think, at a lot of points for Jets fans. It was definitely time. I'm not going to make it sound like there was an overwhelming contingency of Jets fans that wanted him to stay around, at least from my recollection of the time. Um, but there was a very good understanding that he was a good dude who communicated with the players well, but for whatever reason just wasn't bringing about. Like the offense was struggling, even though the defense was good.
Mhm.
And it's like, how long can you get by on that? And it was proving to not be getting by very quickly. Um, as the Jets just kept getting fewer and fewer wins over the course of time. And it sucked seeing him go because I think he was pretty well liked. He was never the most emotive dude, but that's just who he was. He seemed to have a good rapport with the players, and he always seemed like he was just a good guy to have as the leader of the bunch there. But for whatever reason, it was time to move on, and I'm hoping uh, Bobby Saleh, I have no idea, Robert Saleh, is able to bring that same type of atmosphere with him. Just maybe being, I really think at this point it might just come down to the support staff. I think that's what got me most excited was seeing that he was already bringing in his own offensive coordinator, which
Yeah,
is
I mean,
exactly what I think we had said like a week or two ago. What I was concerned about happening with the Jets is them not letting the head coach pick his own guys.
right. And I think having that guy pretty much in the wings with him and ready to come along almost immediately is a really good sign about, or at least towards, their at least them being on the same page and them being
Right.
focus together on, the shared goal. He's not bringing a guy in who's just got run out of another team, who, has a reputation in the past. He's not trying to bring in some position coach that, may not have the experience needed. Excuse me. He's bringing in a guy who was the passing game coordinator for a extremely gifted offense who just got ransacked with injuries and having a bad QB. Um, and I think it's a really great sign for the continuity of the Jets coaching staff and their ability to kind of piece a lot of things together.
Predicted Jets record on the back of this coach hiring, assuming Darnold maintains quarterback status.
Assuming Darnold maintains quarterback status. Okay. So basically my thought there is this is tough. Darnold's good. They don't draft a QB at 2 is essentially what this comes down to, correct?
How about this? Instead of extrapolating out other players, imagine it's a copy paste of the 2020 roster.
Ooh, 5 wins?
That's still a market improvement.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
that's
I
not
think
a
that's
bad
perfectly realistic.
situation. Um, I think if you were to then take a, Penei Sewell at 2, take a Devonta Smith or another one of the wide receivers at 2 just to give that team some sort of that extra juice, I think it might be able to make a difference. Um, but I really think hitting on a quarterback at 2 with a new offense, with um, uh, just a new spark and getting some value back for Sam Darnold, I think that might be the best option right now. I know Zach Wilson is probably the best natural fit for that Kyle Shanahan option offense. Justin Fields with his speed, I think would be very interesting. Um, but I do think the Jets are in a fairly good position, even without being able to take Trevor Lawrence as expected. You never know. Um, they're still in a good spot offensively, system wise, where either one of those guys could come in and would fit well with what LaFleur's going to end up trying to implement.
Right on. I'm with it. We'll see how it shakes out, but I'm excited. I can't wait to do more updates as Jets news keeps popping up as we gear towards the draft.
I really just hate to have to be at this point, but as excited as I am and would be for any team signing this combination, it being the Jets is giving me serious doubts just because of the reputation at hand. And it's just like this. I want to be excited and I want to have all this hope, but it's like I want to hold my breath.
So this is a good point, and I will speak about this as a longtime fan of the New York Tetrapolitans. Um, it was universally considered a bad decision amongst Jets fans when we hired Adam Gase. It was
Not just Jets
immediately
fans.
a what'd you say?
Not just Jets fans.
Oh, of course. And it was also a
Everyone.
very decently side-eyed look when we hired Todd Bowles too. I don't remember much the conversation around Rex Ryan getting hired because that was um, a little bit into my youth, I guess, as a Jets fan. Um, but and I say this because you got the feeling with those two guys that the GMs did not hire those guys and that the ownership hired those guys. And the problem with that is that the Jets ownership fucking sucks. Right? Like
Uh-huh.
like my fellow Knicks fans, we all know who hired Phil Jackson. How'd that go? Horribly.
But he runs the
Horribly.
triangle, Josh. He runs the triangle.
I know.
He won with Michael Jordan. He will fix the Nets 30 years later.
I know.
Or
I
the
know.
Knicks, sorry.
I know what you meant. And you can point to almost any ownership-based decision in almost any sport, and it will almost always be awful. Awful.
Uh-huh.
This hiring, I genuinely get the sense that Joe Douglas picked this guy.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that is the main reason why. And honestly, like, I am so much. Maybe it's because I'm more optimistic now. I don't think that's true. Than I was in 2016 when Todd Bowles got hired. Hold on, I have it up. 2015. Either way, but if they're both defensive coordinators, they're both good defensive coordinators, both coming off of mixed bag teams, but teams with good defenses at their respective times. And it feels completely different. It feels completely different. And I think a big part of that feeling is the fact that this feels like it was Joe Douglas's guy, which I just don't, in my recent recollection of head coach decision making, that just has not been the case where it's been the GM's guy.
Mhm.
It for once feels like we're starting to approach a more linear chain of command when it comes to the coaching staff. Because even under some of those Bulls teams, like it didn't feel like like our offensive coordinator one season was Champ
Bailey.
Gailey? Champ Bailey.
Bailey.
I always get it wrong. Who like came out of retirement to do it, I think because ownership asked him to, and there was a question as to whether or not the OC was even operating directly underneath the head coach. And like it was weird. Like our org structure has always been fucked, and as stupid as it sounds, like and we have all heard me complain about this on the show many times about how it's the stupidest complaint in the world, but I think has a significant impact on what we're seeing on the field. And it finally feels like we're getting a genuine direct stream for how this is supposed to go. And I think that singular or at least more tunnel focused vision is going to actually benefit us like it does for so many other teams. The fact that the GM picked the head coach got to pick his OC, and will probably flesh out the rest of the coaching staff from there is of great comfort. So
Right. And it's one of those things where we all know that there's plenty of owners and there's plenty of ownership groups that wanna have that control because it's their team, it's their money. They need to have that oversight, they need to have that say in order for them to be comfortable with whatever, and they wanna be a part of it and this and that. 100 different excuses you could give. Putting people that you trust in the GM position and then extrapolating that trust to allow them to hire people that they know will be good fits for the team and will be able to do and perform well with both the systems, the players, the team. That's how you make your team better, and that's how you make long-lasting success. Trying to fit a square peg into a circular hole is never gonna make it easy for the team to succeed. It's just not. That's not how it's gonna work, and it's a nightmare every time. And I think we've seen that time and time again, and yeah, there's going to be exceptions to the rule. There's gonna be times where that ends up working. Sure, that's just the nature of the beast. At the end of the day, that continuity makes it easier, and every little bit that makes the lives of not even the lives, just anything you could do to just get a little ounce of competitive advantage, the Moneyball situation is is the right choice, little things like that. Even though it's not
exactly.
so little, it adds up.
Well, it doesn't feel little because it's usually not a thing that teams like have to focus on, but most teams have figured like this part out already. But
Mhm.
that's what makes me happy about this Jets decision is that the Jets didn't feel like they were involved in the decision.
It
Uh,
doesn't feel like a Jets decision.
right, exactly. So I'm much comforted by that. Um, Obviously, we're not going to be talking about the NFL games that just wrapped up this weekend yet. We're recording this on Sunday, January 17th, right around 2:30. So the Saturday games are finished in the books. We have scores and we have opinions, but the Sunday games have not yet happened in Josh and Corwin world. So we'll be talking about those on the Thursday episode as we did last Thursday. Um, we did have one other head coaching hire. I know Urban Meyer also went to Jacksonville, but that's basically been kind of locked up for like weeks, so it's not exactly new. The Falcons had their hire, right?
Yes, Arthur Smith.
Tell me about it.
I don't know much about him. I
Where's he
really
from?
don't.
I don't even know that.
Tennessee?
Oh, he's the Tennessee OC.
I said that with the question mark. Yep, he was the Tennessee offensive coordinator. And again, I think he could fit well. I think he's diverse enough, and at least what I've heard about him is he would be able to fit in with the personnel from just about anywhere he goes. That being said, I know the Falcons are a significantly, you know, almost air raid type offense where they have Matt Ryan, they have Julio Jones, they have Calvin Ridley, they have Gabriel Davis, and at running back they have a very different Todd Gurley and a very not so great supporting cast of like Ito Smith and Brian Hill. Like it's not the Tennessee Titans build. I'm curious to see whether or not he's going to try and find some of that Tennessee success and kind of make some adjustments to the Falcon system, or if he's going to come in, see that he already has all of this talent in place and can just use that and adjust his system to better fit the Falcons. Again, it's one of those things where I could see it going both ways. I'm really just curious about which is inevitably chosen as the path for them to take.
Yeah, I see this as one final attempt at an alteration before a rebuild. Because I think you're right. I think they're trying to hope that they get some of that Tennessee magic here. Because I think that this is the last couple of years of getting very, very good play out of Matt Ryan and good to great play out of whatever pieces they still have around
Mhm.
him. Because and it's not even trying to shit talk the Falcons or shit talk Matt Ryan or any of that shit. It's just a matter of age and how good their division is, and how long these guys have been with the organization, and just or been in the NFL, and whether when it's going to be time for them to hang up the cleats. Father Time is undefeated, and at some point it comes very sharply. And
Mhm.
if you're in the Falcons top brass and you see um what this guy, I already forgot his fucking name. What's his name again?
Arthur Smith?
Yeah, if you see what Smith managed to do to uh, uh whatever amount he had a hand in Ryan Tannehill's turnaround and the Tennessee offense in general turnaround during the Tannehill tenure, then you take a shot on that, and it might be a small sample size, but you'll gamble on it because it's kind of boom or bust right now. It's either we head
Yeah,
towards
absolutely.
a Falcons rebuild because we have the two oldest quarterbacks in the league who refuse to let this division be easy to win, um,
Mhm.
log jamming us from taking the division, or we bottom out and get some key players and try again in 3 more seasons, 4 seasons from now. So I think it's a fair. I think it's a riskier hire, but I like that.
Yeah, I do definitely think it's a little bit riskier. Um, it's definitely not my first choice, but at the same time, uh, the other candidates definitely have their own issues. Um, I really, really would hope that they understand that they're not really in a situation to contend moving forward. They are basically on the back end of Matt Ryan's career. They're on the back end of, the defense at least is not in a situation to propel them to a Super Bowl. I think despite having Matt Ryan there, having Julio Jones there, I think now would be a very smart time if a quarterback falls to them at 5, 6. I forget where they pick, but I think it's top 10.
Yeah.
Um, to take a quarterback if one's there, to see if they can move Matt Ryan, which I'm sure they can, even if it's not up to his full value. And I think it would be time to trade Julio Jones to a contender and get some serious value back for him, get some picks, and put yourself in a very, very good position to rebuild or at least retool. You know, if you can get yourself a quarterback and that's something you can do in the draft, post draft, that's when you could say, all right, now we have this future set up for ourselves. We can take care of some of our older guys, send them to contenders, do this, do that, and build around this new younger quarterback and put ourselves in a serious position to contend later on. And I think that would be probably the smartest decision for them to do right now because I just don't know if uh, the rest of their team is in a situation um, to continue on as yes, as a contender. Those are the words.
All right.
Fuck
I
me.
wondered if we were going to reach that conclusion of that sentence. All
It
right.
was a tough one.
Yeah, it was going really strong, and then the brakes came on very suddenly.
It was like my mind got distracted without having anything to distract it, and it yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, the
We know
idea for
exactly how it
Adderall was
goes.
born.
Ah, yes, the magical, magical drug.
Ah. All right, I want to talk some baseball. Do we have any other football topics on hand before we
Um,
pivot sports
football topics.
that
Again,
don't
we've
involve the
discussed Urban
playoffs?
Meyer. I do wanna say we never talked about the stipulations with him having full control over his assistant coaches, and again, like we mentioned with, the Jets, that's huge. But one of the other stipulations was major investments and overhauls for the, team facilities, which by all means, regularly seeing how often colleges upgrade their facilities to help with recruiting, just the level of quality that college locker rooms, college practice facilities, college facilities as a whole bring. And then, looking and seeing the Steelers locker room where it's just bare wood, nothing spectacular, things like that. I don't know how much of a difference that all would make. I have to imagine it would help in recruiting free agents to some extent, but at the same time, it's gonna be really interesting to see how much of an impact that is and if that's something that catches on around the league. So it's nothing significant that really will affect, um, the Jaguars now or, in the near future. I just think it'll be a very interesting thing to just see unfold.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I guess I guess there's no um you know wealthy alma maters of a team donating large chunks of cash to the team. No one's giving money back to their employer as a thank you. You know?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
No, 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 no.
I don't think like LT gave a huge chunk of change back to the Giants to go build him a new fucking gym. I really doubt that's ever happened with any player in the history of fucking sports. But because you think about it, like that's a totally normal thing to hear happen in football or in college football, even if it's not former players, just like rich alumni just donating money back to the school and ultimately getting funneled into whether directly or indirectly like the athletics departments and then getting state of the art gyms and shit. Yeah, that doesn't really happen in football. I don't think or any other sport.
Yeah, no.
Because you know what the difference is if you really love the Yankees instead of donating like $10 million to them, you can just like buy a hat. Or if you want to, or get like really nice box seats, or like meet the players. Like you don't have to just give money for the sake of it. You can get stuff in return. But anyway, uh,
Yeah.
all right, yeah, we'll see how that shakes out as well as we get some more of the uh assistant coach and underling coach hires from the organizations that have made their head coaching decisions, and see how those teams kind of flesh out the rest of their staff. See if there's any notable names um, that kind of crop up.
Hmm.
Moving over to baseball, in the most hotly anticipated news of Yankees offseason, DJ LeMahieu has re-signed with the Yankees. Now, before we get into the contract details therein, um, Corwin,
Hmm.
what would you have thought a DJ LeMahieu contract would look like? Um, where would you value him? Because I'm actually not sure we talked about this prior to today.
I don't think I would kind of have him in that top tier. It's hard. Like I wouldn't put him in like the contract area of like other shortstops. He still plays short, right? Or has he moved
Second,
to second?
yeah.
I guess I'd have him definitely higher in value than like an Ozzy Albies. Both because I think he's got a better bat and because that Ozzy Albies contract is such a joke. Um, who are some other top cost second baseman? Top contract second baseman. It's tough, but I definitely think I'd have to have him up near the top. Maybe not the absolute top, but that tier 2.
The highest paid second basemen are Jose
Altuve?
Altuve, Gene Segura, Mike Moustakas, Rougned Odor, Dustin Pedroia. Oh my god, this is a terrible
Never
list.
mind. Maybe he is a tier 1 guy.
Oh my god, dude, this is so. Now, granted, this is by money, so a lot of these are going to be the older dudes. But like, wow, this is a fucking perplexing list.
Who were
Oof.
the all-star second baseman last year? I guess I can look that up just as well.
We didn't have an All Star game last year, so I'm not sure they
All-star.
made any selections. I don't know.
Fair enough. I guess I'll have to go back to, the year before. Let's see,
Uh,
2019, it is where is second base?
I know DJ
Shortstop,
went in 2019.
third. Ketel Marte
Ah,
with Mike Moustakas as the reserve.
okay.
Interesting choice, I remember that now, and it was DJ LeMahieu and Tommy La Stella, Brandon Lowe as reserves, with Brandon
Ah,
Flores as well.
that's right.
I
That's
guess
right.
he
That's
I
right.
guess you kinda just by default, not anything against him and his talent, but just by default is now a top tier second baseman.
Uh, so what would you figure the AAV on a guy like DJ would be?
Oh, I couldn't even pull that out of my hat, 20?
Really?
Again, I don't really know comparatively what that would be. It's hard to just throw a number on it off the top of my head.
Okay. Because what I'm trying to figure out. So this has been a very sought after man. Um,
Mhm.
because Yankees love the fact he hits a lot of home runs. Yankees fans just, or sorry, hits a lot of balls. He does. He hits a lot of balls. He has a high batting average, and that is a thing people have decided that they care about. Um, for only this one guy, and I get it, man. As a Yankees fan, I get it. It has been a blast having him here. I don't think he makes or breaks the team. Um, So for reference, he is the number 5 second baseman getter. I guess Mookie Betts had like an appearance at second base and is therefore at the top of this list, but that's not right. So, I have a list of from 2018 to 2020, the most WAR accumulated by second baseman. It's a weird list that includes a lot of third basemen, like Jose Ramirez, Alex Bregman, and Anthony Rendon. This is all right. I This list doesn't make any sense, but DJ's certainly up there in the list. These are single season. That's why. All right, I'm not going to put that much effort into this. Um, and he's going into his age 32 season. He is a career 102 OPS plus hitter. He is a career 100 WRC plus hitter. Point being, the last 2 years of DJ LeMahieu have been fucking amazing at a non-premium position. And that's not to say second base doesn't matter. And DJ also plays third base, and I haven't heard him be ragged on in the way that we usually hear about. So I retooled the query to pull off the highest WAR for players who played at least 50% of their games at second base collectively from 2018 to 2020, and the player with the most WAR in that time at that position is Ketel Marte, 12.7 position player WAR. Number 2 is DJ LeMahieu at 11.4, followed by Ozzie Albies at 10.4, Colton Wong at 9.7, and Whit Merrifield at 9.6.
Does Whit Merrifield play third base right now? Or second base right now? Or did he move to the outfield?
I believe he's still second baseman.
I dropped my mic again. Just a non sequitur for, posterity's sake and just a little, inside the NBA edition. I'm currently recording just laying flat on my back in bed with just my mic resting on my chest. Just to paint that picture for the audience.
Yeah, imagine Corwin's 7-8 foot long bed. Having to
You ever see a
accommodate
picture of
all
like
that.
Shaq's bed? Just imagine me just laying in the center of
Oh my
that.
god, I've never seen a picture of Shaq's bed, and now I
It's like
kind of feel like I need to
like
see a picture of Shaq's bed.
it's like 10 feet long, I think.
I'm surprised it's only that long. I'm surprised Shaq just didn't line his floor with bed and sleep in a room of bed.
I think that would be really fucking awesome. I've always had this like dream of basically making like a little, not necessarily a room, but like you know how like in a living room there's like a half wall sometimes or like little areas within the room. I just want to have like a 10-foot by 10-foot area that's just like couch or padded, just lay out, relax, just doesn't matter what angle or whatever, just bed, couch, room. Yeah.
I'm with it.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, um, popping back over to what we were talking about as we've had enough bed talk. Pillow talk at that point? Who knows?
Pillow talk,
My
baby.
my pillow talk? I don't know. Um, Fuck you, Mike Liddell. Um, so of those 5 guys, um, let's try to do this in order. Ketel Marte is currently making, heading into the 2021 season, $6 million. He has left on his deal 4 years and looks like $36 million. So what is it? About $8 million a year. Whit Merrifield, was that the next name in order? No, it wasn't. Ozzie Albies. We've talked about his terrible extension before. Is set to make, Jesus, $2.5 million this upcoming season. $3 million. It appears as
Criminal.
though, yeah, I know. It appears as though he has left, 2, 4, 6 years, and oh my god, really, like $30 million. This is so bad. So that's terrible. 6 years, $30 million. So that's about $5 million a year. Colton Wong, who actually got bought out by the Cardinals, and I'm not sure has a contract yet. He might be a free agent right now.
Hmm.
But last year he got paid
He absolutely is. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Last year he got paid just under $5 million. And finally, we have Whit Merrifield, who is still amidst a 4-year, $16.25 million contract. So about $4 million a year average. Those are the peers. So none of them cracked $10 million a year. DJ LeMahieu, who is granted number 2 on this list, just behind Ketel Marte, really good, all that shit. The oldest member of this group is getting double the highest paid player's average annual value.
Wait, say that again? The oldest the
Of the top 5 WAR getters for second baseman between 2018 and 2020. So that
uh-huh.
includes both of DJ's Yankees years and one non-Yankees year. I only included that third year, that 2018 season, because the 2020 season was very short. There's no nefarious purposes behind it. I figured I'd just capture a little bit more.
Why are you trying to
You know,
cheat us, Josh? What are you doing?
I can change it. And I'll do that actually now just for the sake of it. But he's making double what the next guy is making, and the next guy behind him in terms of AAV is the one guy ahead of him in terms of actual genuine production. And again, this isn't because my problem with it is like you can't. And this is such a Yankees fan fucking thing to do, which is I think why it bothers me so fucking much. Is you can't just throw money at your fucking problems. Like
Spoken like a true
it
Yankees
should
fan.
it should seem obvious. Like we all agree in retrospect that Jacoby Ellsbury was a terrible signing. Some people loved it at the time because it was taking a guy from Boston at a position that we needed at a premium position who was really good for a couple seasons. How'd it
Just like the
go?
whole Babe Ruth.
It was bad. It went really poorly. We threw a bunch of money at a problem and it did not work out. The DJ LeMahieu is going to be signed as a Yankee through his age 38 season. A
Ooh.
second baseman who will be paid through his age
Fuck.
38 season. That's fucking bad, man. Albert Pujols at first base is a liability on defense. Like, and again, this isn't meant to be a diss on DJ, and I feel like that's where a lot of the defense that I saw of DJ coming from on Twitter is, people not wanting DJ back is going, oh, do you not understand how good he is? Yeah, he's really fucking good. At the same time, you got to be smart with your dollars. Like you can't just dish out contracts, especially as big money teams like the Dodgers, Red Sox, and Yankees are all, for whatever stupid reason they decide to do this, trying to stay underneath the luxury tax threshold. And if you want pitching and you want DJ, then you gotta play hardball with DJ so you can afford pitching. Like it's not that hard.
Mhm. It's one of those things where I really think we should do an episode coming up discussing salary cap for baseball. I don't know what the big argument against implementing a salary cap is, at least in the NBA. But I think it would cause teams to really second guess these kinds of decisions in the future if they had to ration their money. If the Yankees couldn't just throw money at a problem consistently and just expect it to work out because it's the Yankees and money solves problems. Um, but we could, unless you know off the top of your head, I think we could probably save that for another episode.
No one off the top of my head. Sorry.
Just like the reasoning against salary cap in the MLB.
Because it wouldn't help you. That's just the reality of it. We've seen bad teams have really high payrolls because unlike um especially basketball, but also a lot of our other salary capped sports like the NFL and like uh hockey, having granted to varying degrees, but having a handful of great players can really, really make your team. Even if you just have a handful. If you put Aaron Rodgers on a bad team, would they still be bad? Probably, but they'd be a fuck ton better. You put
Uh-huh.
Aaron Rodgers on that Jacksonville Jaguars team, are they going to be good? No. Are they going to win more than one game? Absolutely.
They gonna push for the playoffs? Probably.
Honestly, in that weak ass division, they fucking might have. Like, same, same thing. You see this around hockey. Again, to a lesser extent, you really obviously see this in basketball, but you do not see this in baseball. It's way too. There's too few. Not enough playing time respectful to how many players there are for it to truly come into effect. Because if that was the case, then one of the greatest players of all time, a Mike Trout, let's say, his team would be going to the playoffs all the time, and he doesn't. So
He
really,
doesn't? Why not?
because the Angels don't understand what pitching is supposed to be. Um, it is helpful in that it allows you to cover your mistakes better by giving a contract to Jacoby Ellsbury and then letting him never play, or never seeing him on the field because he's hurt all the time. That would kill the Royals because they'd have to keep paying him, even if they got their that salary covered by insurance. It'd still chip away at what they have to spend to at least some degree. Because I highly doubt insurance would cover all of it. Whereas with the Yankees, you call that inconvenient and then you move on. Obviously, that keeps you from signing maybe an extra player, but it's not nearly as big of a deal. However, that's not helping you. It's just keeping it from hurting you. And I think that's where the big difference is.
Okay. I can see that.
However, the luxury tax threshold has served as a de facto cap for a while.
For some.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think I like the idea that you can go over it if you want to, because it lets you see teams make the pushes to go over it and then, treat that as their window as the repercussions get worse and worse every year. Because the more years you are over the luxury tax threshold, the more severe the punishments get. So I like that you have the option to do so, but I don't
I
know.
will say I definitely forgot about the implementation of the salary cap or the,
Luxury tax?
luxury tax, thank you, and how it's essentially just a flexible salary cap.
Yeah, it's like a soft cap.
Mhm. Which, by all means, in principle, I really do like.
Yeah, I actually think this one of the better I do think the MLB needs a salary floor desperately.
Mhm.
Because I think all sports really honestly should have it, and most
Yep.
other sports do.
Instead of
Um,
the luxury tax, it's just our poverty tax or the Pittsburgh tax if you wanna be specific with it.
oh, they earned that. Um, but anyway, I guess to revert back to the point. By the way, I did rerun the query. If we take just 2019 and 2020, the DJ LeMahieu years, some might say, he is the most valuable shortstop, or sorry, second baseman in that time. 8.9 WAR over those two seasons. He finishes just 0.2 WAR ahead of Ketel Marte at 8.7. And then the top five looks very familiar. The only name that changes out is all else is equal. The top five is still DJ, Ketel Marte, Colton Wong, Ozzy Albies, and then Brandon Lau at number 5 instead of Whit Merrifield. So
Where's Brandon
again,
Lau on the contract size list?
I think he's still on his rookie deal.
He absolutely is.
Yeah. So and again, that's the point of this is like obviously no one faults DJ for asking for like 25 a year.
No,
Like
he deserves it.
nobody faults DJ for going in and saying, "I want 4 years, $100 million," and because he should like that's his job. At the same time, it's like you also can't fault the Yankees for saying you are old. You have 2 good seasons. They just so happen to
Well,
both be with us. But
he did win that pesky little batting title back
sorry, you're
before he
right.
joined
He
the
does have
Yankees.
3 good seasons.
He's been a good player his whole career. He just took it to a different level when he joined the Yankees.
I'm going to read you his OPS plus by season, starting in 2011 when he got into the league with the Cubs. Apparently, 50, 88, 74, 75, 92, 128. This was his first batting title in Colorado. 93, 88, and then he joins the Yankees. 135. Last season, 177.
Okay, you got me there.
Yeah. Again, he is a Gold Glove defender. You know, he's got 3 of them, and he's been I guess a decent enough contact hitter his entire career.
Yeah.
The problem is that I don't care if you're a contact hitter. Um, while I have often said I think watching contact hitting. I think the same way a lot of people enjoy watching really successful runs. I want to see my team pass, and I want to see home runs because I know that they are more valuable. Um,
And they're just more fun. They just make the game more fun.
Absolutely, they do. So I think this works. I think this works in a really interesting way, which is this works in the same way the Yankees deal with Aaron Hicks works, which is still that super fun, old school 7 years, $70 million contract. Where yes, they'll be paying Aaron Hicks for a long time, but they'll be paying Aaron Hicks at pretty small amounts for baseball contracts.
Right.
Um, like if you owe Aaron Hicks $10 million for the 3 seasons, if he retires with 3 years left or isn't even on the team, in Yankee land, that doesn't even fucking process. It doesn't matter. Um, Same thing with DJ. If he retires or is not on the Yankees after his age, I don't know, 36 season, and you owe $30 million for 2 years, oh man, do you fucking care? That's less than 1 year of Garrett Cole. Like you can live with that
Hmm.
because
Especially the Yankees. The Yankees have that kind of flexibility.
right, and this is where I think I think we might end up seeing more of these contracts over time as they're easy ways. Because if the ultimate goal is to not have to face the luxury tax threshold, which again, as we've seen teams make a point of that, I guess being the goal, then the answer to that has to be lower AAV. And clearly, the players don't give a fuck if teams go over the luxury tax threshold because why on earth should they give a fuck? That is
No,
not their problem.
that's
Um,
like an employee giving a shit if their employer has to pay, you know, fines or penalties. Pines.
yeah, the
Uh,
combination of fines and penalties, pines. You might have seen the trees.
no, I
Uh,
care that you pay my salary. I don't care that you have other expenses. It's a business. You are supposed to have expenses.
right, and it's also the idea that if you're making, let's go with DJs, $90 million. Does it matter to you if you're making that over the course of 4 years or 6 years? It's such a high quantity of dollars that if you're a real person, you shouldn't care. It's not
No.
going to matter to you. What matters is that one, you will at some point in time accumulate $90 million, and I understand you can invest shit and there's compounding rates and blah blah blah
Interest
blah
and
blah.
things like that,
Suck
yeah.
my balls. Um,
You and I would care about those things, but at the same time, you and I don't deal with that level of money. So at the
right.
end of the day, it's not a real person issue.
No, no, it is not. Now, if you know, they you and I went into work and they, our bosses told us, hey, instead of paying you, I don't know, median salary rate for this 1 year, we're going to stretch it out over 6. We would be furious because that would be impossible to live on. But in terms of how high these dollars are, nobody gives a shit. I mean,
Nope.
at least you shouldn't give a shit. What matters is that the money's all going to add up eventually. Eventually, DJ will get to $90 million, and DJ gets the option to keep playing baseball if he wants to, which also has a value on it.
Right.
And I think for those two things, the lower AAV and for the team, and the fact that the players will still get their money and get to play baseball, we might end up seeing this as more of a standard.
And it's hard
Garrett
to
Cole's
be able
contract might be the
to
last of the beginning of the end of those types of contracts.
on one hand, I don't think that'll ever be the case because people are greedy. Um, at the same time, I think we can't say where specifically his mindset is, but taking lower money and allowing a team to build for contention, build for the future, things like that, being able to, spread your money out, taking a hit of, 2 years worth of interest, lost investment time for the chance to contend for a championship, I would consider that a fair trade-off that large number of especially older players who have their money and are set and have their, playing time and, what's it called? Their pension kinda lined up where they don't have to worry. Okay, now let's worry about getting a championship because that's now what's most important. Um, so we'll see how that unfolds.
Right. And not to mention the fact that the longer you are an active player in a league, even if you're not like a high end player, the more time you have for sponsorship deals, which if you want to play it like Gronk, who lived entirely off of his sponsorship money and didn't touch his NFL salary, you could probably still get by fine on that, especially if you play in the New York market, um, just as an added touch. So, all in all, if you had to give a grade to this signing, what would you say?
A B minus, maybe C plus, depending on how long, looking back, how long he'll be able to continue to play at this level. Um, just at face value, I think having him around while this team is still very much a front runner contender and, the team in the AL, I think it'll work for them. That being said, obviously the Yankees are not quite in the same boat as the rest of the league when it comes to having to maximize your window before a rebuild because I mean, we know what team it is. It's the Yankees. Um, that's not their biggest concern. They don't need to worry about that. But I don't think it's a bad deal.
No, I'll probably give this B plus. Um, I think this is still a riskier signing than I think a lot of people are making it out to be. This is still you paying a lot for a you know already in his 30s player. I mean,
Mhm.
and what's crazy is like I've been hearing discussions from Yankees fans about how we shouldn't give Judge big money because he's in his late 20s already, and we're ready to throw money at DJ, who's literally already in his 30s. But whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, right. At the end of the day, the Yankees felt this was a guy that they had to bring back, whether, and we've talked about the merits of that already.
Hmm.
So that is what it is. They did so at a reasonable enough rate, and they did so stretched out over enough period of time that they can absorb the losses while, so in an ability to mitigate some of the risk. So I think while uh, it's still more than
I
I would have ideally liked to have given out in my mind. I was picturing somewhere closer to 10 or 12 AAV. This is still perfectly acceptable for a gigantic team like the Yankees. So,
do you think the arms race that has taken place in the West between the Dodgers and the Padres has forced the Yankees to make these deals and ensure that they are continuously putting the best players that they can get at each position?
no, I don't think so. In fact, I think and I could be totally wrong about this. This is strictly a guess. I think the Yankees probably wanted to be involved in some of those deals um that our West Coast baseball friends have been involved in, but they didn't anticipate the DJ signing taking this long. Um, because we we got the Yankees got Corey Kluber like literally the same day after DJ signed, and now we're hearing the Luis Castillo trade rumors heating up for the Yankees. Um, and all this taking place after DJ signed. And I think it's because the Yankees knew they wanted to bring DJ back. They just wanted to make sure it was at the right salary level and didn't want to commit to other players and fuck with what they were able to offer in order to stay underneath the luxury tax threshold. So I I I don't think the Yankees felt like they needed to do any because the Yankees holes are the Yankees holes. Like they have holes in the rotation, and they have problems in in certain parts of the infield. Well, and left field. Um, but I think that if the DJ signing happened, I don't know, the first week of the offseason, we might have heard more heat about maybe Darvish going to New York or maybe Snell going to New York. And as we said, when we talk about those two trades, that's not meant to disparage the Padres in any way. It's just those deals were so light and the player salaries were so not crazy that it was surprising more teams weren't involved in them, the Yankees being among those teams.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be an interesting year for sure. And boy, I am going to stress out over my World Series picks this year. Jesus Christ.
I know, man. I know. All right, we've been going for a while. I do want to talk about the possibility of a Castillo trade,
Sure.
and then in part because, of course, right after we're done recording this, it will be announced as all things happen. Doug Peterson also got hired for the Eagles job. We found out right after we finished fucking recording.
Fired.
God, sorry, fired from the Eagles job.
Yeah,
Sorry, fired.
definitely was not hired by the
No,
Eagles.
the opposite of hired. Yeah, God, that was fucking funny. It feels like it always happens, and I know that if we talk about it, it will be willed into existence. So we'll take it from there. So there's been a lot of heat, a lot of conversation, a lot of chitter chatter on the interwebs about the possibility of a Luis Castillo trade to the New York Yankees. And I gotta say, I understand it to a large degree because I think Luis Castillo is a very good baseball player. Um, I also think a lot of Yankees fans are doing the thing again where they have no concept of how much money things are and where the Yankees want to be organizationally. And I don't mean to make this super Yankees specific, but I obviously am because we're doing it. And it bothers me because I'm a Yankees fan. So Luis Castillo is a great pitcher who
Mhm.
also uh, doesn't make a ton of money. He's cheap, which is part of why Cincinnati's not inclined to let him go. If we're looking at Cincinnati as a team, where do you think they rank in terms of payroll?
Ooh, that's hard to say. Where the Yankees would rank?
No, Cincinnati.
Oh, very low.
Give me a guess.
Mm, bottom third?
So what are you saying, like 20 or lower?
Yeah, I'll say 23.
15th.
Wow.
Yeah, they
Who's
have.
who's propping them up?
Oh, we're gonna get into that.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now, the Cincinnati Reds, with only 26 players on their roster, so they still need to
Oh my
fill
god,
that out a little bit. Have $110 million in payroll right now.
that's a lot.
Yeah, obviously they would like that to be smaller, which means that if they're going to trade away one of the cheaper players on their team, they're going to need a very specific set of return back. And that return would have, if I was the Reds, that return would have to look something like either a fuck ton of young prospects, which is fine, but more specifically, payroll. I would also need you to send over or to absorb one of Joey Votto and his $25 million a year contract,
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Nick Castellanos or Mike Moustakas, who each have a $14 million per year contract.
I mean, I think that at least if you had to ask, uh, Votto is definitely the contract you'd have to get rid of and dump.
And
I mean,
so,
Castellanos and Moustakas are still playing at a high enough level to be worth that money. Joey Votto's not worth 25.
which is a horrible sentence. It pains our hearts, our collective hearts. Problems with that, my friend. However, firstly, Joey Votto is 37. That's old. Secondly, Joey Votto has a full no trade clause, so he would have to approve a trade to New York, which at 37, having spent his entire career with Cincinnati, I am just so doubtful he would approve a trade to go literally anywhere. And thirdly, we just talked so much about how the Yankees are trying to stay underneath the luxury tax threshold and the gymnastics they would do that they've been doing to get there. Why on earth would they then throw all that away to take on a Joey Votto contract? The Yankees, as it stands right now, are $4.8 million underneath the luxury tax threshold, which means that signing Joey Votto would put them $20 million over the luxury tax threshold. Why? Why? They wouldn't do it.
You know what? If they were that beyond desperate to contend and put up this year and put up the numbers needed, maybe. I don't think they would, but maybe.
And
The
see,
option's there.
that's what I'm saying is like if that was the case and the Yankees were willing to just say, fuck it for this year. Let's just go. They wouldn't have fought with DJ over the difference between $100 million over 4 years and $90 million over 6 years. Like that wouldn't have been a month-long debate. You know what I mean?
Right. Uh-huh.
So because we just saw that play out with a face of the current Yankees situation. I'm not going to say face of the franchise guy because I don't think he is, but a face of this current iteration of the Yankees. If they just went through that with that guy, why the fuck would they just absorb Joey Votto's $25 million? Again, assuming he goes there, assuming he approves of that trade. And then you'd have to find a place to do something with him because he's not going to go to the minors.
No.
He's no way he's going to approve a trade to go to the Yankees just to get sent down to the minors. Absolutely no
And
way that
retire.
happens. Yeah.
Approve the trade, help out the Reds, this, that, and then say, "Hey, I'm still just gonna retire."
Well, if he was going to do that, he could just retire, not even have to approve the trade.
Would that
He'd
money
just be
come
helping
off
the Yankees.
would that money come off the books?
Yeah,
Okay. Different from the NFL, so never mind.
I believe so anyway. Or at least it comes off their. Oh, they wouldn't care about payroll dollars. The Reds are probably just concerned with spending. Actually,
Mm.
now I have to check. I'm pretty sure that you just forfeit that money. Um, I'm pretty sure.
So it
Anyway,
wouldn't count towards the luxury tax and payroll, it would just be, "Hey, you just still owe this guy his money."
well, that's the thing. I'm not even sure they would owe him that. I think he leaves it on the
No,
table.
no, because contracts are guaranteed in MLB, so he'd still have to get that money, but I guess since it's his choice to retire, that might I don't know.
That's what I'm saying because I
This
know
is
MLB
not
has
my
has
wheelhouse, sir.
I
I
know
do
MLB has
I
a
have no
pension,
idea.
and I think that actually factors into here to the fact that they don't maintain those contracts after retirement. But I also don't remember because unless a good chunk of this is we're getting into a whole different rabbit hole. It doesn't matter. Um, again, just because the likeliness of this is so comically low. Because
Oh, sure.
because again, the issue that I see with this isn't just hey, we need prospects. The Reds probably need to spend less money. And while I think that trading Luis Castillo for Miguel Andujar and Clint Frazier and uh, Clark Schmidt and whoever else you want from the Michael King and whoever the hell else you want from the Yankees um, minor league roster is all well and good. Um, I don't know. Let's say it's a 6-to-1 player swap. That's 6 players making what? $600,000 a year, $700,000 a year.
Mhm.
That's about Luis Castillo's payroll anyway. Does it matter?
Yeah. Maybe just,
Are they going to do it?
future contract consideration wise, Luis Castillo is in a very prime position to get paid a lot of money relatively soon. I don't know if he still has arbitration left or when he's lined up to get a new contract, but 6 young players might not get new contracts or, expensive contracts for 4 or 5 years, where Luis Castillo might have to get paid this offseason or next offseason. So who knows?
He
Who
currently
knows?
has 2 ARB years left.
Okay, so that's a good amount of time.
It's a lot of control.
Yeah, but he's
That's
still gonna
worth
make
something.
a lot of money in arbitration. Not nearly as much as he would, but a still decent amount.
Well, that and he'd be making under market value, which again makes him a perfect situation for the Reds, who, while they aren't going to be good next season, almost no matter what, they're not going to be bad next season. Yeah, they're losing Trevor Bauer, but their division's shit. So having the 1-2 punch of Luis Castillo and Sonny Gray might be enough to kind of buoy them over for the course of a season and maybe even finish second in that division and steal a wild card spot from somebody. Because again, the division's so bad. And the only reason I'm so fixated on the dollars here, because if this was like a year or two ago, I think the Yankees would have done this with almost no problem and just taken one of Moustakas or Castellanos, eaten the salary, made him like the fucking bench DH, and just lived with it.
Mhm.
Because that's what we'd expect them to do. But they are weirdly fixated on the dollars here. And while I actually do still think something is likely to happen with this, I think no matter what, it's going to be odd. I think it's either going to be the Reds aren't getting enough salary relief that you would think that they would be looking for, or the Yankees take on way more salary relief than you think they would for a team that just pinched pennies with DJ LeMahieu.
Right.
It's a very strange situation to be in. And this again furthers my talking point of why didn't the Yankees get involved in the Darvish or Snell trade? Because as we talked about with those guys, um, they were cheap. They're not making a lot of money, and the Yankees are either in a position where they have to dish out the same number of prospects, if not fewer, if not more, to get Luis Castillo, and end up paying what might end up being the same amount of money, if not more, in salary relief. As it stands, again, Luis Castillo is set to make around $4 million. Blake Snell's set to make 11. And if the Yankees are going to be taking on salary relief from the Reds, $7 million seems low. And maybe they do it for that. But at that point, you could have just gotten Blake Snell.
Yeah. No kidding.
And Blake Snell is in his second arc. Like it's just weird.
It is just really weird. I do not know how to explain it, but here we go. It's the same old, same old.
Yeah, so I'm sure I don't know, 20 minutes after talking about this, it'll get announced. But
Of course, that's
and this
naturally
whole conversation will be moot, and we'll be wondering why we did this. But oh well, that's just the way shit goes.
that's the way the cookie crumbles.
That's right, my friend. That's right. All right, I have shot the shit, I think, long enough on this one single topic. Do you have anything else you'd like to discuss before we wrap it for today?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, hey, if you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at JuicingPod. If you want to hit us up via email, you can do so at juicingthenumbers@gmail.com. We have terrible takes and worse tweets, so come check us out. And until Thursday, y'all have a good one.